bythjul.com. Däck och fälgar online direkt hem till din dörr eller närmaste verkstad. 2021, the sixth generation of this American icon, the Ford Bronco, was introduced to the market. And it gives a homage back to the 1966 model that looks just about the same. This is a rugged car in all its presence, with hinges, towing hooks, big fat tires, rails on the roof, places that you can attach your fishing rods, and everything else that you need when you need to go into the outbacks. So with that bucking horse, it really feels like it was born on ranches throughout America and made for those open landscapes where you needed a car that could get you anywhere and tow everything you need. And its appearance is very refreshing. It's fun to see something like this. Sure, it is bulky, as it should be. The round headlights, really nice flat design here in the front. I really like it. It's got such personality. It's high, it's wide. But what I like about this car, and that got me even more thrilled, is that I know that this is capable of doing so much on road. It's got this go to get over all terrain modes. You can set it in rock, snow, stone, mud, sand, and you can also disengage the sway bar so it becomes a bit more flexible off-road when crawling over rocks. And crawling over rocks, well, it's got a mode that you can drive up to 6 kilometers with just throttling and not needing to put the brake on. That becomes very, very easy to maneuver the car when you really need it in some serious tricky situations. So it just feels right in these conditions, of course. Spitting mud, spitting snow and gravel everywhere. It just suits the car's nature. This is what it should do. It is very raw in its appearance, in its driving feel. When you drive on the road, well, there is a lot of cracks, there is a lot of noises, there is a lot of bangs. There is just a lot of noise that slips into the cabin here. So if you're looking for a quiet car, well, then this is not the one. Then you should go for a Range Rover or something which has it all. This is more rough attitude, right? Through and through. You get off the road and you know this can take a bit of beating. And it's also very nice in the summer because you can remove all the doors, remove all of this, and then you just drive extremely free, almost like riding a motorcycle. That becomes a very special feeling. So that's what the Americans are very good at. They do this extra that is a bit crazy in a way. And the Ford Bronco, well, this one, it has some heritage. The 1960s model, it looks almost the same as this new one. So this is a bit of a homage in the design department. And I really like how it looks. And you can also see that big bonnet and those hinges in the front, just like the indicator lights on the G-Wagon that also pops up. So there's a presence of a big car, almost this Hummer type of style. And you know, that's a part of what you buy. You want to feel a bit big, a bit bigger than everyone else, and that you are about to conquer something extra. Something extra in that sense, well, that is going off-road and really showing all other cars that they are not close to the capabilities of what this car has. And these big tires that you get on this Badlands model, the Badlands model, which is a bit updated, you get the Bilstein dampers as well. And I thought it was going to be something like the Jeep Wrangler on road. That is not such a pleasant car to drive on the road, even though that is very nice off-road as well. And it is a bit the same character. But this one, with its independent front suspension, when taking some corners, it steers in a very, very pleasant way. So it's not off-putting in that way, which these type of cars can be, because they're just suited for off-roading. This is the 4-door version. You can get a 2-door version, but I don't think you can get that 2-door version here in Sweden. It's a mid-sized SUV, even though it is very wide and very high. It isn't that big inside. You get these hinges here on the side, which you can also see where the car is, so they become like a marker when you're off-road. But it also got all these systems, you know, cameras that you can see around when you're driving off-road. But I like it. You can see this high raised bonnet when you're driving, and that is very charming. It's almost like the G-Wagon. So everything is big, fat, and just super cool about this car. I like it a lot. It's totally protected underneath. You got this undercarriage protection, so you can go off-roading hard, and you know, you don't need to be careful. This is meant to go off-road. But what's fun about this car is that you can pick it apart from the roof to the doors, so it becomes totally open. But you need to be careful, because I don't know what the Swedish law says about driving without doors, but that becomes freedom. Starting price is 1,099,000 Swedish crowns. And that is a lot of money for a car that might feel a bit plastic, feel a bit simple, but it has that character. So making it a bit more pricey, well, that makes it a bit more rare, because people might not tend to buy this one, but it is so well known. The back, you get the spare wheel. You also get this splitted tailgate, so you can open the door and you can open the rear window. You can also put on a tent. They showed me that at the showroom. And this V6 bi-turbo engine, 2.7 liter, got plenty of power. 335 horsepower, 563 newton meters. That makes up for a strong car off-road, and also for some decent acceleration. A little over 7 seconds, 0 to 100, and a top speed of about 170 kilometers approx. But it's rather thirsty, actually, this one. 13.9 liters per 100 kilometers combined consumption. And that is about the same as a V8 G-Wagon. And you get this 10-speed automatic gearbox, which sits in the Mustang. This 2.7 liter V6 has some power, 335 horsepower, and a little more than 500 newton meters. So, you know, it moves on a little, but it's more noise than go, really. When you go off-road and driving in this, you know, it really climbs, this car. So even when driving with just two-wheel drive, that works. Getting into four-wheel drive low and everything, well, then you can get wherever you want. And disconnecting that sway bar, and also the mode that lets you crawl in low gear at 6 kilometers an hour. So that is done in a more calm way, so you can predict what is coming. And the hinges on both sides, well, that marks the car side, so you really know where you're putting it. Very smart, thought out. The overhangs on this car is very short. The ride height is up to 261 millimeters, so you are rather set for off-road and some real demanding and tricky paths. This 10-speed automatic gearbox that sits in the Mustang that I drove a couple of months back, it's not the most charming gearbox. It was good when you were driving that car on track, but it lives its own life. It's not that sophisticated. How it works in this car, well, it works okay. You can get into manual drive if you want. You just pop it into manual, and then you got this little selector here on the side, just like in the Transit. That's what I remember those manual gear shifts from. Yeah, just put it into second on a small little course, and you can drift around and have a lot of fun. And it has some drifting control over it. Depends on how worn out your tires are, of course. You got this all-terrain tires, maybe not the best of grip, but they look cool. And that's all it is about this car. This car is about attitude, and it doesn't lean that much. You know, a G-Wagon or something, they have that tendency to become a bit better, of course, with the suspension. And this got the Bilstein suspension, so it is a lot more composed. Bio mode, here we are. And that becomes a bit more sporty, so it clinches on a bit more to the gears, so it just wants you to go a lot quicker. But it is something extra driving in just a two-wheel drive in this one, because you don't want to have too much understeer in this car. It doesn't kick you out that good, so if you don't push it real hard on some more loose surface in the four-wheel drive mode, then you know, you will just go straight on. Here in Sweden, you can buy this as the Outer Banks version or the Badlands version, where this Badlands version get 2 more extra modes in that GOAT setting. And that is rock, crawl, and baya. And the baya mode is a bit more rough and racy in its off-road way. It doesn't allow you to change gears until you reach the red line when it's in automatic. So it needs to just go fast in that mode. And the crawl mode is a bit better. You can crawl over rocks and a bit more treacherous terrain just using the throttle and not using the brake. And that is good because you need to be focused when driving off-road. And also in this mode you get that undercarriage protection, permanent 4-wheel drive, locking differentials, the fatter tires and the rails on the roof, and also some extra switches which you can add some extras to if you want to buckle up a stereo or some electric stuff to your extra gear that you add on this car. And all that for just 50,000 Swedish crowns extra, so that's a bit of a bargain. You should really go for this Badlands version, because buying this car you should at least sometimes a year go on some controlled or club-based off-roading, or just out into the natures with this attached extra gears. Under the shelf in the trunk, you can stuff 562 liters. And if you want to use the whole one, it's 1804 liters. So yeehaw! It's like climbing up on a horse. You sit high in this car, as you should. It's a bit of a step up into it, and then the door is not that high, so sometimes you can bang your head on this. It feels a bit cozy, like almost like sitting in a Hummer or something, like a small army truck. Everything is rather low here. The dashboard here is high, it's flat. Everything is very rugged. It's rather plastic, but that's just okay in a car like this. The visibility all around is really good, and that big bonnet that you see just feels like you are transporting yourself in something really, really big. I think many people like that feeling when you drive something big, if you like big type of cars. But inside, it's not that very, very roomy. It is rather small in the back seat and here. But you have everything at your disposal. The buttons are big, the layout is very logic in here, and you have everything in reach. Big gearbox that you can grab with big gloves on. This wheel feels just great to hold. It feels a little sporty. I also like the buttons on the steering wheel. You know, they're a bit rubberized, but you can also use them when you have your gloves on, which is just great. You get good feedback and you can feel when it really clicks. I was trying to find the stock for the wipers, but there's just one wiper here. So everything is integrated to that one, you know, where to indicate and where to use your wipers, front and rear, and also when flushing. So when I was about to flush in the beginning, I was sitting there, you know, flashing my headlights instead. But big, rugged, a lot of handles all around, flat, says Bronco here. Here you also get the serial number, the climate control, and the setting for the radio and sound system is here. Camera buttons, big and good, and you know where you have them. Rather fun ventilation outlets with a little rubberized flap that you hold. Here we got all these auxiliary outputs. So 1, 2, 6, almost feels like in a plane, but that gives power to different type of sources that you want to put in. If there's speakers, if there's something that you need, well, electronically adjusted, or when they need power. And then you got this goat here. Great graphics. It's a bit sluggish when you change it. Ooh, take some time. But then you got normal, eco, slippery, mud and roots, sand, bio mode, and rock crawl. And then when it's rock crawl, 4-wheel drive low. So shift to neutral, and then you get into that one if you want to use it. Big screen here. I like that one. You can see some tire tracks of where you put your wheels and how you steer. I don't know if you look at that much, but when you crawl at 6 kilometers an hour, well, then that works really good because you know exactly where to set them. And then you can also adjust it so you get a round view. And the sway bars can be disconnected. You can lock the differentials, trail turn assist as well. And you can also go into water depth of up to 80 centimeters. The windows here is a little different laid out. Everything is well displayed here. It's simple. You get that little speedometer, which just looks a bit retro or modern. I like it. Nice energetic blue colors. You can see how the car is tilting, how the wheels are working, what type of locking differential you have, battery power, oil temperature, turbo boost, different gogs, tire pressure, power distribution, and all of that. And also what type of pitch and roll the car has. So, you know, everything is set up for being a real off-roader. The seats, they are wide and good. Give you some support. You might fall out of place a little if you drive a bit harder on dry surface, but I don't think you will do that much. And I think they're good when you're driving off-road because they're comfortable. So you need that. They need to be stuffed. They need to be big and wide so you can really move about. And you are going to move about when you drive off-road. Storage is good. You got some nets down here to put your stuff. I like that, a bit different, but it's good because you can just pull them out and put down some stuff and they will wrap themselves around that object. And it's cool with all the screws, the naked screws that you can see all around from the outside to the inside. And here you got all these handles from where you need to open and remove the stuff. So it's rugged, naked, and honest in its own way. Back seat. Great handles here if you want to hold on and if you want to pull yourself in. Well, here you sit rather high. You have some space to the roof, but it's very upright in the back here. It's almost like you lean forward. Cool nets here, that's nice. Outputs here, USB-C, USB, electronic window buttons down here. A little cup holder, a very small armrest here. But it's an armrest and that's good. But the back seat is, well, it's not very charming back here really. You just sit and wait for that off-road adventurous ride maybe. This one, if you're a bit taller, you can bump your head into that. You can fold these seats forward and then you got a lot of storage capabilities in this car. There is also a Raptor version and that has got more than 400 horsepower. We are not provided with that one in Sweden. But it's a very fresh wind here in Europe because Americans, they have a bit more creative mind and they're much better at doing this adventurous stuff and some more fun stuff with their cars. And that is really fun. So you can't deny the fact that, you know, having this car, a lot might feel like unnecessary stuff. But if you're open-minded and you think it's fun and you might need it, well, then it just comes into place extremely well. It has its own looks and everyone likes this type of boxy shape as you run along. That has become some type of style in cars. You know, like the Geländewagen or the old Defender, you know, just like big boxes. But people like to see these things because they're simple, they're roomy, they're practical. And when you see big chubby tires and a big grille and a car that is very wide, well, of course, people wonder what it is because it always makes a little intimidating impression. So now having tested this car on some more serious off-road terrain, just some snow-covered gravel roads, you can feel that it's confident. It does a really good job and you don't need to worry of where you want to go. Every time, you know, someone want to pass you on a small path, and there won't be any space because there's just piles of snow. No worry, you can just go up into these piles, let them through, and then just crawl out of it. And you don't need to worry. You just put it in four-wheel drive low if you think that you would be stuck. And that's a bit of its whole personality. You buy this car for the excitement and a little thrill of knowing, you know, when the winter comes and if I would need to go off-road, well, then I would do it. I would manage. And these are the type of customers that get this type of car, both to feel a bit special because it is special. It doesn't look like any other, and that has become a big selling point for these type of cars. They're not so refined. They're refined in a rough way. But when you know that they can tackle all of these environments, well, then it becomes a fun buy. But it might not be the best economical one, and it's rather expensive, over 1 million Swedish crowns for this one.